Very warm welcome. Thanks for tuning into your favorite news destination, Donald Trump 2.0. That's right. Rolling coverage right here on News 9, ladies and gentlemen. The DC Arena speech yesterday with those braggadocio statements and what it means for Indians, that's going to be our top focus as we continue to decode what this recalibrated United States and India relationship looks like. Let's break this down for all the viewers. The world, needless to say, is watching on as Donald Trump is all set and poised to take oath as the 47th President of the United States, marking an unprecedented return to the White House. With this comes critical questions about a second Trump presidency. What does that mean for global diplomacy, the Indo-Pacific, and most importantly, Indians and India back at home? From shared concerns about China to the evolving dynamics in West Asia, India and the United States face a moment of recalibration. And tonight, we bring you continuous live coverage and a deep dive into how Trump's brash leadership style, his obsession with global leverage, and his vision for a mandate-driven, the word mandate, that he's throwing about in private and, of course, public domains. This mandate-driven second term, what could this mean in terms of redefining this pivotal relationship? First and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at some facts as well in terms of implications for India. Now, Donald Trump has targeted India's high tariffs. India, the tariff king, Trump says. And he's promised reciprocal tariff policies. Information technology, textiles, pharmaceuticals, the exports, they all are going to face challenges, is what experts are pointing out towards. Higher costs may reduce competitiveness, and tariffs disrupt India's export growth. That's another point that key economists are now looking at. Electronics and engineering goods are going to be affected, but at the same time, we need to look at India and United States' bilateral trade relations as well. Now, Indian exports to the United States, they stand at $77.52 billion US dollars. US imports from India stand at $42.2 billion. US is India's largest trade partner. And bilateral trade, it surpassed the $120 billion mark in financial year 2024. And at the same time, the National Mall, viewers are starting to line in. All the Republicans, they're making their way to Washington, D.C. at the National Mall, where in the wee hours of the day at 2 a.m. local time over there, security checks had begun. Those convoys, the red and blue flashy lights, they've started to move about as people who've made their way to Washington, D.C. are also a little bit hurt over the fact that this is going to be taking place indoors, ladies and gentlemen. And that's only because it's too cold. But, of course, in the advent of anything that could happen, Republicans are also happy that it's going to be more secure and safe, that it's going to happen inside the Capitol Rotunda. Of course, tariff and the tariff threat to India's growth. Of course, Indians looking at uncertainty when it comes to immigration. But the tariff threats, let's focus on that a little bit. 100% tariffs could raise the export costs. Indian products may lose their competitiveness, and there are, of course, several supply chain challenges as well. There's going to be disruption to key industries reliant on United States' trade. India is going to now have to navigate through US's transactional tariff policies, that too very carefully. Opportunities also, of course, arise. There's a silver lining amidst all of these challenges. The China Plus One strategy may end up favoring India. There's going to be focus on artificial intelligence, the semiconductors and technology sectors, which of course India is going big on as well. And here's India's path forward. What does it look like? There's going to be leveraging trade policies for mutual benefits, needless to say. There's going to be strengthening of positions in the global supply chains. We're looking at the India-US Middle East corridor as well. Joining me here on the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen, is Ambassador Suresh K. Goyal, former Indian diplomat, Surinder Singh Lalli, political analyst, international affairs, and Canada, US seem to be the keen focus. Is also somebody who's part of the Democratic Party caucus in fundraising in the NY tri-state area when Bill Clinton ran for office. A very warm welcome to you, sir. And Xavier Rodriguez, senior journalist, foreign affairs, also with us on the broadcast. You know what, gentlemen? Just take a look at some of these visuals that we're playing out for all the viewers of what it looks like in the morning time. Of course, Florida woke up a little bit early. There was a cathedral, a proper church session that also took place. And now moving towards Washington is where the sun is making its head. And of course, very soon, Carrie Underwood is going to be singing America the Beautiful. Some of those fan reactions on your screens, and then we're going to get the snowball rolling with my esteemed set of panelists.
I'm here because this is the best day ever. The shit show's over. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I'm excited to see Trump back for my kids struggling, and money's in her pocket, and I'm ready to have this world turned around. And it's been a long 4 years, and I'm ready.
We were debating, actually. We had flights out of Newark to fly down originally. But then when we heard the news that he canceled it, and we have tickets for outside, so inside we don't have tickets for, so we said, you know what, let's go to the rally. Let's get as early as possible. Let's give it our all, and hopefully get a chance to see him, participate in victory celebration. So we got here about 5 a.m. this morning. Left the hotel around 4:15.
And how's it been?
It's been great. I mean, it's a vibe. But, I mean, earlier this morning, it had to be a few thousand people here already. And the vibe here is phenomenal. It really is. It's a good, positive vibe. No one's complaining about the cold, the lines, the way. It's a nice, it's a good feeling so far.
I got here at 5 in the morning. Yeah, and tomorrow the same. I was going to go out there now because of the freezing cold. I don't care. I've got to do it. I've got to do it now. I can't wait to dance that YMCA dance. I'm practicing. I'm hoping Trump will wave back, and yeah.
Frank Sinatra lookalikes, you've got Elvis Presley lookalikes, everybody's thronging the National Mall over there. Ambassador Goel, I'm going to quickly come to you first. When we're talking about the new Trump world order, there are 4 or 5 things that people talk about. Of course, reversing the green agenda under Joe Biden. Immigration seems to be one of those big talking points that Indians are most necessarily worried about at this point in time. Transactional trade, could that lead to coercing his treaty allies in Europe, or will that lead to a trade war? All of this is supposed to be talked about, but what are you focusing on? We're getting these exclusive visuals from Washington, D.C. Our reporters and boots on the ground over there as well. We'll continuously go to them as well. But let's get the snowball rolling here. Ambassador Goel, over to you. How are you looking at Donald Trump, the Disruptor-in-Chief, making a return?
That's the best word I've heard today, Disruptor-in-Chief. And that is exactly how I would describe Trump as the President of the United States, because he has come on the mandate to disrupt the existing order, and is determined to do it, and he will do it definitely, without any doubt whatsoever, without mincing the words, whether it is Democratic Party in the USA, or it's a liberal order, or it's a Europe security architecture. The only thing that will not change, and that has not changed since his first term, even during the interregnum of Biden, is China being seen as a potential rival, potential threat to the USA, and which actually has become even more important as a challenge to the USA. And India's position in the whole scheme remains as a kind of balancing factor in Indo-Pacific, if not the world, and because India is a balancer in the Indo-Pacific to China, which the USA sees as a major rival, I think in a strategic sense, India will continue to be a very, very important partner, but with the trade and the tariffs posing a threat. But I don't think that is something which is going to be too difficult for us to really meet or for us to address. Indian business is quite adept. I don't think Indian trade with the USA came down even during his first term, despite all the kinds of threats. So we need to wait and see. This is the macro picture. We'll come to the granular picture in a bit then.
All right. Surinder Singh Lalli, I'm going to bring you in next. I mean, American history and politics has come a long way since the Bill Clinton days now, hasn't it? And, talk to us about the visuals that we're now seeing. J.D. Vance has made his way to the Capitol Rotunda, the vice president earlier, then the president at this point in time. And we're going to continuously show you these visuals about how the fireworks started beginning as he, entered Washington ever since the 18th, a slew of galas and balls that have been planned out as well. Yesterday, and of course, the Americans think that the contradiction lies in the music itself with, Kid Rock and the villagers playing YMCA, a foul-mouthed, a white rapper that was made this face of, country rebellion ahead of Donald Trump's campaign as well. Some of those fresh visuals on your screens, ladies and gentlemen. Surinder Singh Lalli, talk to us about the importance of the inauguration ceremony, about the significance of the Capitol Rotunda, how many people can essentially fit in there, and the fact that now it's happening indoors after 1985 when Reagan was sworn in.
Thank you, Kabir. It's a pleasure and honor for me to be here. And on a note of levity, you used the words disruptor-in-chief, and if I may add, I think it's the fast and the furious Donald Trump, or if I may say, Donald Trump unplugged. And the event today is going to be no less than a reality TV event, because the gentleman is in a hurry. I mean, he's always known to be in a hurry, and that's how Americans have been, and especially him coming from the East Coast. And he comes out of that fast food culture where they want it and they want it now. I believe he's going to sign over 100 executive orders. But what I find, which has gotten my attention, is MAGA, making America great again, and trying to improve relations with China. Because I find that extremely oxymoronic, especially with the disruptor-in-chief that I choose to call is Elon Musk, with his interest in China. $260 million is what he paid to get Donald Trump's ear. So I feel that it will be a big challenge for Donald Trump, who came into power amongst immigration, China and tariffs of China as a big issue. And on top of that, now with Elon Musk as his buddy, I'm keen to see how long would that bromance last. Especially, Steve Bannon and Elon Musk are not known to be friends with each other, and Elon has already gotten a kind of a dressing down from Donald Trump, even before the party started. The party starting tomorrow. So for me, it's going to be an extremely exciting term. And for our diplomacy, although we have a very nimble and a deft foreign minister, but knowing how mercurial Donald Trump can be, we don't know.
Mr. Lalli, I'm so sorry to interject. I think Donald Trump, the president-elect, soon to be sworn in as the 47th U.S. president. He's made his way to the Capitol Rotunda. Take a look at this. He's at the ramparts of the Capitol, where this inaugural ceremony is going to take place. Of course, Melania Trump accompanying the president-elect. On your screens, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump, minutes and moments before the inauguration ceremony gets underway, ladies and gentlemen. History that we're witnessing right in front of us. My apologies, Mr. Lalli. We'll let the visuals play and you can continue with your thoughts.
Can I?
Yeah, please do, go on.
So what I feel is that we can expect the unexpected, because the way he's been belittling Canada as becoming his 51st state, and the way he says that he could use force to get countries back, and the way he's wanting to set with Denmark, and now with the interference by Elon Musk in the German elections, and the way Elon Musk is kind of over-exceeding in briefs and trying to interfere with the United Kingdom, the way the government is being run. So I think we could expect the unexpected, because we don't know which way this is going to go. And even if you look at the last term, it wasn't easy. So it's going to be an exciting theater of, I wouldn't use the word absurd, but still, a theater of the contradictions. And let's see how it pans out. I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Okay. All right. Many thanks for your opening comments. Xavier Rodriguez, senior journalist, foreign affairs, editor-in-chief, the Goa Chronicle, with us as well. Xavier, those visuals, I mean, there is, something telling in those shots as well. We were looking and, talking about a big public rally, Donald Trump walking with a lot of people, but I think security concerns have taken the better of his security detail as well. Donald Trump unplugged. Fast and furious is what Mr. Lalli said. I use the word disruptor-in-chief, but the shock and awe of a Trump world order. How are you bracing yourself to, consume all of it? Savi, you'll have to unmute yourself, I think.
With two very, always a pleasure to listen to them. 1 second.
Yeah, you're with us. You're with us. We can hear you. We can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay.
Yep.
So it's a pleasure to be on the show with these two eminent panelists, Kabir. So let me tell you what I think of Donald Trump, and I'll relate to a movie that did extremely well. It was the character in the movie that did very well, rather than the main protagonist of the movie. And that movie was The Dark Knight, which had Heath Ledger play the Joker, and Christian Bale play Batman. But it was a Joker that went away with all the applause and the Oscar later. To me, Donald Trump is the Joker in the global geopolitical pack of cards. Now, let me tell you why I say that. Because it is like he said, there's a beautiful dialogue he says in the movie, Heath Ledger says, as the character Joker, that imagine what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. And Donald Trump is an unstoppable force. And the world is an immovable object. The objectives of countries around the world could be immovable objects. And therefore, you're going to see not only disruption, you're going to see absolute bomb blast, to use the word lightly, as far as geopolitics is concerned. He is the Joker of the pack. His relationship with any nation will be under question mark, because you will not know what the Joker wants to do unless, of course, his whole intent is to have chaos and anarchy, as the character Joker did.
Maybe
now,
if Christopher Nolan was here on the panel, he could probably help us out as well.
Let me say this, though. You see, Donald Trump's got one agenda, which is MAGA, Make America Great Again. And according to that agenda, every other relationship is dispensable. The only thing that is not indispensable is his target to make America great again. Now, what is it according to him? Which means that the economies in America, the jobs in America, the relationships and the trade with America, the benefits have to accrue to America itself. Now let's look at the classic example of the Israel-Hamas hostage situation. And you will see that the reason Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, went ahead with it was primarily because Trump was coming into power, and Trump said that the hostages would have to be released, but they haven't got all of them yet. So I'm also a little skeptical whether the peace or the ceasefire deal will continue, and maybe a week after the inauguration of Donald Trump, you might have trouble back in the Middle East. So he's a man, he's a Joker, he's going to play to the masses. He's going to use his relationship with Prime Minister Modi, with the Indians, to gain as much as he can. He's a businessman at the end of the day. Just like in the scene where Joker manages to get all the money for all the mob bosses, and then he lights it up and tells one of the mob bosses that, listen, this is my share of the money, right? That is exactly what Donald Trump is all about. He is, in fact, he is the Heath Ledger character of Joker that is there in global geopolitics.
All right, you know what, Savio? That's a great analogy. I'm going to add that to the list of Donald Trump Unplugged, Fast and Furious, Disruptor-in-Chief, and of course the Joker analogy that's working out as well. At that grand DC Arena rally yesterday, Donald Trump made some promises. He said, well, we're all happy Americans now, and he's made a set of promises. Listen in to what Donald Trump had to say to that rapturous crowd at the DC Arena.
Our incoming administration has achieved all of this in the Middle East in less than 3 months without being president. We've achieved more without being president than they've achieved in 4 years with being president. We're going to do a lot of things. You're going to see something tomorrow. You're going to see executive orders that are going to make you extremely happy. Lots of them. Lots of them. We have to set our country on the proper course. By the time the sun sets tomorrow evening, the invasion of our borders will have come to a halt, and all the illegal border trespassers will in some form or another be on their way back home. Thank you. The border security measures I will outline in my inaugural address tomorrow will be the most aggressive, sweeping effort to restore our borders. We have people coming in, millions and millions of people coming in. A dictator, Sean, for one day. And I'm going to close up the border and I'm going to drill, baby drill. And after that, I'm not going to become a dictator. They keep saying, he's a threat to democracy. I'm saying, what the hell did I do for democracy? Last week, I took a bullet for democracy. Well, we need Greenland for national security purposes. We gave the Panama Canal to Panama. We didn't give it to China. It is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy? This American carnage stops right here and stops right now.
You work too hard. Work smart like me.
Why? Won a lottery, is it?
You can say so. I'm investing in a great scheme in the share market. High returns guaranteed.
Your high returns aren't Karan Arjun for them to definitely come to you.
Meaning?
Dad, there's risk involved in the share market. Nobody can promise guaranteed high returns. It's illegal to do so.
Really?
Yeah.
सोच कर, समझ कर, invest कर.
India spends $75 billion on foreign cargo vessels.
$75 billion per annum. You know, that's a lot of money.
Imagine a situation where 95% of our cargo is coming on ships which are not owned by us. If we are still not prepared, if someone were to say that we are not going to give you ships, then we'll be stuck. So the entire nation's economy is at risk.
We are very clear that shipping is also strategic, because without that you can't really be the third largest economy in the world.
This and more. Streaming on News 9 Plus. News is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
People coming in, millions and millions of people coming in. A dictator, Sean, for one day. And I'm going to close up the border and I'm going to drill, baby drill. And after that, I'm not going to become a dictator. They keep saying, he's a threat to democracy. I'm saying, what the hell did I do for democracy? Last week, I took a bullet for democracy. Well, we need Greenland for national security purposes. We gave the Panama Canal to Panama. We didn't give it to China. It is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy? This American carnage stops right here and stops right now.
Well, Donald Trump 2.0 administration taking shape, literally getting sworn in moments from now. Rolling coverage, and you're at the right spot, ladies and gentlemen. We've been in discussion with Ambassador Suresh K. Goel, former Indian diplomat, Surinder Singh Lalli, political analyst, international affairs with a keen focus on Canada and US, who's also part of the Democratic caucus in fundraising in the New York tri-state area when Bill Clinton ran for office, and Xavier Rodriguez, senior journalist, editor-in-chief of the Goa Chronicles with a keen focus on foreign affairs, also with us on the broadcast. Ambassador Goel, coming to you very quickly, the rapport between Prime Minister Modi and Donald Trump. That's not something new. We've seen it time and again. Take a look at Howdy Modi. Take a look at the Namaste Donald Trump events. How do you think that rapport is now going to dictate the next 4 years whilst we're looking at this recalibrated India-US ties. Mind you, for all the viewers that are joining us at this point in time, live visuals that you're getting from Washington, D.C., J.D. Vance, President-elect Donald Trump, they've made their way to the ramparts of the Capitol Rotunda. The significance, all of it, you're at the right place for this. Ambassador Goel, over to you to the question I just asked.
Thank you very much once again. I think the personal relationship between Prime Minister Modi and the President Trump is going to be useful to the extent that it will make the conversations and discussions between them easier and better understood on the issues of importance to both India and the USA, including the issues relating to the region, by which I mean Indo-Pacific. I don't think the USA will be very much interested in what role India can play, either in Middle East or in Europe. Those would be far from his mind, but India-Pacific. Now, even though it will make much easier, whether it will change the worldview or the views of Trump about China and India and Indo-Pacific, I think it's very, I have my doubts on this thing really, because unless India is able to really shape up its own capacity to meet Chinese challenge in the Indo-Pacific as a part of Quad and on its own, the value of India will be really determined by that factor for Trump. Having said that, I think Modi as a businessman himself, or coming from Gujarat, which is the state of really doing excellent business globally, Prime Minister Modi should be able to really look for opportunities in Trump's behavior. And what I mean by that is that there is a lot of contradiction between President Trump's political agenda and the economic agenda. Now, you can make America great again globally as the one power which can stand up to the emerging power of China and the others, but you cannot do that by really saying that you will be basically looking at the American economy alone in isolation from the other countries. Now, if you increase tariffs on the various things, what you are also doing is that you are actually hurting the employment within the USA. After all, the factory jobs are created on the basis of goods imported from the other countries, whether it's China or India or Mexico and other places. The supply chains will be affected. I think Trump knows it. And therefore, while he will keep on talking about tariffs, etc., but there will be a limit to that in terms of a policy tool. So we will need to see how he basically tones down his rhetoric on tariffs and trade, etc. Fortunately for us, I think China plus one is one area where we can actually take advantage of, provided we are able to create a space for production manufacturing between Vietnam and Indonesia in the region, who are emerging really as a challenge. Therefore, important and interesting point, but we can use the opportunities, and Prime Minister Modi should be able to find those opportunities in the spaces and the corners given by Trump.
All right. You know what? It has been a riveting conversation. Ambassador Goel, many thanks for joining us here on the broadcast, and we're going to continuously bring you all the latest details. Surinder Singh Lalli, many thanks for joining us here with your expertise and your insights on the broadcast as well. And Savi Rodriguez, always a pleasure to have you with us on the broadcast as well. Listen in to what Donald Trump had to say when he said that at that large DC arena, he says, we've won. Listen in to Donald Trump. On the other side, we've got a very special and exclusive conversation that's lined up for you. Don't go anywhere.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. We won. We won.
But now, ladies and gentlemen, our next guest has years of experience shaping U.S. foreign policy and fostering strong partnerships, especially in the Indo-Pacific. Lisa Curtis, She's been instrumental in navigating critical junctures in the India-US relationship, including during Donald Trump's first term. She's joining us live from Washington, D.C., and is someone who has been at the heart of Trump's foreign policy machine. Lisa Curtis, former Deputy Assistant to President Donald Trump and a distinguished director at the Indo-Pacific Security Program at the Center for a New American Security. She's with us on the broadcast. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am, bringing her unparalleled insider perspective. Warm welcome to you, ma'am. Ma'am, first and foremost, I must ask you this because, you're somebody who's worked with Donald Trump, and I need to begin on this personal note. How would you describe Donald Trump's view of India, of Prime Minister Modi, of, looking at India as a strategic partner, especially given his focus on China being that assertive dragon in the Indo-Pacific as well? And what can India expect in the next 4 years?
Well, look, I think if you look at Trump 1, you see that the U.S.-India relationship was really elevated during this period, that President Trump got along very well with Prime Minister Modi. I think they had respect for one another. They enjoyed meeting together and working together. You saw this come out at the Howdy Modi event, the Namaste Trump event in India. So there's a lot of goodwill that President Trump feels for the India relationship, as well as his relationship with Prime Minister Modi in particular. So I fully expect that the U.S.-India relationship will reach new heights under President Trump. He's even said that he wants to go to India early in his term. And so he might be the first U.S. president to visit India in the first year of his second term. This would be quite unprecedented to see a U.S. president putting so much focus and attention on India. So I think this bodes well for the future of the relationship. I think another thing that we can point to is the fact that there will be a Quad meeting of the foreign ministers this week. Again, that shows that India will be a priority for the Trump administration. Of course, there's many conflicts that he's going to have to focus on immediately, the Israel-Gaza situation, Russia-Ukraine. But when it comes to the Indo-Pacific, when it comes to this vital region, I think India will be a focal point of that strategy, of that policy. And so the fact that we're seeing a Quad meeting this week is a great indication of that. The only thing that I would put out there is that I think we are seeing that Trump may take a different approach to China than people initially expected. I think it's going to be more of a mixed approach. Of course, leaders like Michael Waltz, the incoming National Security Advisor, Marco Rubio, the incoming Secretary of State, are China hawks, and they will be focused on the U.S. competition with China and all that entails, whether it is export controls, whether it's restrictions on U.S. investment in China, whether it is building up alternative supply chains. These two leaders will pursue all of these policies. However, you're going to have people like Elon Musk, who has, Tesla investments in China. You'll have the economic team, the National Economic Council, Scott Bessent at Treasury. These people will be focused on the economic relationship. And we know Trump is a deal maker. He's going to want to make a deal with China. So how this plays out in terms of the overall U.S.-China policy is something we've yet to see. But I think there probably is some surprise in India that President Trump has invited President Xi to his inauguration. Of course, it will be the vice president who actually attends. But there has been some reaching out by President Trump to China, and how that will impact the India-U.S. relationship, I think we've yet to see.
Well, very interesting points that you've raised over here, ma'am. Of course, you spoke about that, list of people, Michael Waltz, Marco Rubio, Kash Patel, the FBI director, not just China hawks, but also, pro-India voices. But before that, I need to ask you about the Quad. You mentioned the Quad meeting, not necessarily looked at as a military alliance, but with Donald Trump at the helm of affairs, could things change in the Indo-Pacific, which is, again, your area of expertise as well?
Well, I think the Quad will remain an important forum for engagement. But as you said, it's not a military pact. It's more about these four countries, these four democracies, maritime powers coming together, pooling their resources, their capabilities to shape the Indo-Pacific environment in a way that it's a free and open region. You have free trade. You have countries whose sovereignty is respected. So you have free seaways. This is another aspect of the Quad. They've come to maritime security agreements, and there's been a commitment that the four countries' coast guards will start an observer mission somewhere in the Indo-Pacific. So these are all issues that are very important to a Trump administration. We saw in Secretary of State designate Rubio's testimony that he's going to be focused on countering Chinese aggression, whether that is against the Philippines in the South China Sea, whether that's against Taiwan. So on all of these issues, the Quad has become an important mechanism to pushing back against Chinese bullying, against Chinese aggression. So I fully expect that to continue. Whether or not there's more of a military defense focus, I think, that's an interesting question. It does seem that there could be moving forward. They're already dealing with maritime security. It's not that big of a leap for the defense issues to start to come into play. So I think that is something that, could happen and we have to keep an eye on. But I think the main thing that the Quad meeting, the holding of a Quad meeting the first week of the Trump administration taking power gives me a very clear signal that the Trump administration does value its partnerships with countries like India, its alliance relationships with countries like Japan and Australia, and that they will continue to build on this important initiative that, by the way, was started in the first Trump administration. It was Trump who revived Quad after a 10-year hiatus. So it's not surprising that this, again, the Quad will be an important element of the Trump Indo-Pacific strategy.
Of course. So there's always that possibility as well. And, ma'am, coming back to the second aspect of my previous question, I'm going to add a couple of names to that list. You mentioned Michael Waltz and Marco Rubio, of course, Kash Patel, FBI director. We've got, the senior director for India in the National Security Council, Ricky Gill. And these are all, of course, Tulsi Gabbard, the head of intelligence as well, another name to that list. How crucial will these set of people and their influence be in shaping the India-US relationships and ties in the next 4 years under Trump 2.0?
Well, absolutely. I think everybody you named will have a role in the India-US relationship and sort of the view that the Trump administration takes of India. As I mentioned, Trump already had, I think, pretty fully formed views on India and saw India as an important partner in the first Trump term. While there was some friction over the trade issue, of course, President Trump during his first term had pulled the GSP privileges for India. But beyond that, I think we saw a lot of strategic convergence between India and the U.S. in the first Trump term. You saw that President Trump in his first term supported India when it had its border crisis with China, pulled out all stops to support India in that time of crisis. Also, there was a lot of cooperation between India and the U.S. during the COVID crisis that Trump initiated. So, he already has fully formed views of India, but it certainly will help that you have a lot of these incoming cabinet level advisors and cabinet officials who know India, have visited India, and have strong views in support of a strong U.S.-India relationship. All the people that you named, Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard, and others. So I think this all bodes well for India and the future of the U.S.-India relationship. It's not to say there won't be any friction at all, because I think, the fact that Trump, has called out India on its high tariffs, the U.S. will want to gain more market access to Indian markets, that's a given. So, there will be some friction around the edges. But I think on the big issues, on the strategic issues, we can see that things are likely to go in the right direction when it comes to U.S.-India relations.
You know what, ma'am? It's really reassuring, all of these words that are coming from you as well. You spoke about the tariff issue. That is another hot topic here back at home in India. And the other one is, of course, the immigration policies. Trump's immigration policies, particularly during his first term, they were, a source of concern, of course, for Indian professionals. What can the Indian diaspora, given the H-1B visa issue at hand, and of course the H-1B visa holders, what can they expect from the administration this time? People are already talking about how they're going to consume the shock and awe, and Indian diaspora already bracing themselves for how Donald Trump is going to approach his visa policies.
Well, I'm glad you raised the immigration issue because I think you're right. This could be another source of friction, particularly when it comes to the H-1B visas. And we've seen the split within, the Republican Party over this issue. You've seen people like Elon Musk get out there and say how important the H-1B visas are for U.S. tech industry, that they rely on these workers and that it contributes to, overall U.S. innovation and productivity. But then you have members, that are very supportive of Trump, the MAGA group, as we sometimes refer to it, that they are saying that no, this is taking away U.S. jobs, that the H-1B visa program is not good for U.S. workers. And so we've yet to see this fully play out. I think, President Trump has stated that he understands the importance of the H-1B visa program, but if he comes under too much pressure from this part of his supporters, the MAGA supporters, then he could, be influenced to take certain steps. So, we've yet to see how that plays out. But you also talked about illegal immigration, and we know that Trump is going to come down hard on illegal immigrants starting today. He's likely to declare an emergency at the southern border, which will allow him to access funds to, quickly resume building the wall and to take action against illegal immigrants. And, let's face it, India has the third largest number of illegal immigrants inside the United States. That's to say that Indian citizens make up the third largest group of illegal immigrants in the United States. Now, we saw this play out during Trump's last term, where the issue was handled quietly and effectively. So India has dealt with this issue before with the first Trump administration. So it will know how to deal with it again during the second Trump administration.
All right, so you're saying that we've dealt with this before, not as much of a hurdle, but a small little speed bump that's going to be smoothly taken care of. You know what, ma'am, just a couple of more questions, and I've got a personal one as well in that particular lot. From your time as the Deputy Assistant to President Trump, help the viewers understand what the man is like as well, how his leadership style is unique. Could you throw some light on that?
Well, I think President Trump is a very personable person. I think he's the type of person, when you meet him and you're face to face with him, that you feel like you're the only person in the room, and that he is focused on engaging with you. And so I think a lot of people don't really realize that he really has a personal touch to the relationships he develops. He's also very humorous. He has a great sense of humor, which also contributes to this rapport building that he makes with world leaders. And I think, but we also have to remember that Trump is not entirely predictable. We've seen that with the TikTok decision. In 2020, President Trump did support banning TikTok on national security grounds. However, now he has been TikTok's biggest supporter. And we saw something very interesting happen over the weekend, where for about 12 hours, the TikTok app was not accessible. There were a lot of angry Americans. 170 million Americans are on TikTok, use TikTok. And then when President Trump intervened to reinstate the app at about noon on Sunday, a lot of Americans were elated. They were very happy. So Trump has his finger on the pulse of the American polity. And I think we have to remember that this could lead him to, change decisions based on his reading of the American public.
Well, ma'am, my final question to you is going to be, because he's only the other U.S. president that's, made his way back to the Oval Office that is not a consecutive term. And that, of course, speaks volumes about the man. Many had thought that his career was over after Joe Biden's victory, but he has, of course, resurfaced. From your time in the Trump administration, reflecting on Donald Trump's first term, ma'am, what lessons do you think that the president-elect has learned about navigating complex global alliances, and so many of them at hand for us to see? Take a look at West Asia, for one example. And how might this affect the India-US relationships? How has Donald Trump been able to distinguish the mistakes that he probably made or his leadership qualities and styles from the first term to this one now, ma'am?
Well, I think, first of all, that, he has learned to get people in place quickly. And we've seen that. We've seen that he moved very quickly in naming his cabinet. We see the confirmation process moving very quickly. We see him, getting people in place. I think, he said he has 1,000 appointees in line who will, take power on day one today. So he's learned that. He's learned to get his people in place quickly. In terms of, relationships, I think he has learned from his previous term in office that his relationship with key leaders can make a difference in the policies that the U.S. pursues. So I think he'll put a lot of effort into developing rapport and relationships with critical world leaders. And that's why he invited President Xi to the inauguration. This is why he's reaching out. I think he believes he can make a difference in the policies and the direction of the country's policies if he has that personal touch with the leadership. So I think we'll see a very active, a very busy President Trump, working the phones, traveling, and visiting with world leaders to try to impact change and move things forward.
All right, ma'am. Many thanks for joining us here on News 9 and taking out the time. I know it's a big, big day for you there in Washington, D.C., and it's a busy day, needless to say as well. Lisa Curtis, ladies and gentlemen, former Deputy Assistant to President Donald Trump and a distinguished director at the Indo-Pacific Security Program at the Center for New American Security. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, as the world anticipates Trump's return, well, we need to talk about so many of those things. People are talking about Disruptor-in-Chief's return. They're calling it Fast and Furious Donald Trump. Some are even saying it Donald Trump Unplugged. But we'll have to wait and find out as to what happens. Moments from now, Donald Trump is going to be sworn in as the 47th U.S. President, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to slip into a quick commercial breather here. Top developments right on the other side. Keep it with News 9 for this rolling coverage, straight and live from Washington, D.C.
We have people coming in, millions and millions of people coming in. A dictator showing for one day, and I'm going to close up the border, and I'm going to drill, baby drill, and after that, I'm not going to become a dictator. They keep saying, he's a threat to democracy. I'm saying, what the hell did I do for democracy? Last week, I took a bullet for democracy. Well, we need Greenland for national security purposes. We gave the Panama Canal to Panama. We didn't give it to China. It is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy? This American carnage stops right here and stops right now.
Your promise is IGI certified. Your legacy is IGI certified. Your ambition is IGI certified. Your diamond is IGI certified. Authentic moments need authentic diamonds. Get your diamonds IGI certified. 14-step grading process. 50 years of trust. IGI Trust Certified.
I will take you to Paris.
Paris नहीं, Paris. तुम्हारा pronunciation भी ना, तुम्हारे इरादे की तरह.
मैडम इरादे कभी ऑफ नहीं होते, टेक ऑफ करते हैं.
SBI Life Smart Platina Supreme के guaranteed return से करो पूरे अपने इरादे, अपनों से किए सभी वादे. SBI Life, अपने लिए, अपनों के लिए.
We have people coming in, millions and millions of people coming in. A dictator showing for one day, and I'm going to close up the border, and I'm going to drill, baby, drill, and after that, I'm not going to become a dictator. They keep saying, he's a threat to democracy. I'm saying, what the hell did I do for democracy? Last week, I took a bullet for democracy. Well, we need Greenland for national security purposes. We gave the Panama Canal to Panama. We didn't give it to China. It is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy? This American carnage stops right here and stops right now.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Our rolling coverage on Trump 2.0, Donald Trump's inauguration, and he's shortly going to be sworn in as the 47th United States' president as well. Joining me here live from Dallas, Texas is my colleague Venkat Mulukutla. Venkat, help the viewers back at home understand what the Indian diaspora over there is excited about. We're looking at the National Mall that is being thronged by so many people, have similar structures come up and about in Dallas as well. There's a particular key bill that people in Texas are also hoping should be part of the 101st executive orders that Donald Trump is going to sign upon. Over to you. Help the viewers here back at home.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot going around in the minds of citizens and immigrants here in the United States of America, especially if you see they look forward for the first thing is jobs and the economy. These are the two first aspects that people are looking forward, and in that direction, whatever the executive order that would be signed, it would be prima facie, because they have been impacted big time for a while. And if we see for a while, basically the citizens of United States of America have been deprived of the jobs, and the economy has been doomed. So in that aspect, if there has been a prolonged gap for some time, and if you look at Trump's campaign, basically his focus was purely on the America First. And when we say America First, basically he says that the citizens are deprived of certain facilities or certain aspects that they could not get, and I believe his executive order would go in a direction that would benefit the United States citizens first. And that's the direction he would go in. And from the jubilant celebrations that are prepared and people around the world are there, I mean, the world leaders arrived in Washington, D.C., and primarily you see the Republican camp is mostly there. And also we see our proud External Minister Jaishankar, and also we have seen Ambani's representing India there. And that is a jubilant celebration moods going around. Sorry.
No, you're absolutely right, Venkat. We'll have to wait and find out. Of course, rolling coverage continues here on News 9. Venkat, many thanks for joining us here. We're going to keep coming back to you as and when you have more for us. But behind those braggadocio statements of arrogance and boastfulness, what's really, behind the India-US ties? Of course, recalibrated India-US ties. Don't go anywhere. We're slipping into a quick commercial breather here. There's lots more to talk about, and live coverage directly from Washington, D.C. That does not stop here on News 9.
एक्सरसाइज करा करा के मेरी जान निकाल देगा तो तेरा और हमारे बिजनेस का ध्यान कौन रखेगा?
अपने साथ अपनों की लाइफ फिट रखने का परफेक्ट प्लान, कैनरा HSBC लाइफ इंश्योरेंस टर्म प्लान। कैनरा HSBC लाइफ इंश्योरेंस, प्रॉमिसेस का पार्टनर।